Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today's video is going to be a review of this book here, The Dark Lords Demise by John White, book 6 and the final book in the Archives of Anthropus series. So, the funny thing about this, the first 5 books have great covers, but I can't really show you like how much you can see this. The cover is really cheesy on The Dark Lords Demise. Like, the first 5 were fantasy books ranging from the 70s to the 90s, but they still looked great. And for some reason, The Dark Lord's Demise just has the cheesiest cover. So this book actually came out in 2001, and the author died in 2002, just sort of an interesting fact. So what did I think of The Dark Lord's Demise despite the cover? I mean, this was great. I thought it was even better than the other ones, and I've liked each one better than the last, and that continued with The Dark Lord's Demise. So before I get into the review, I'll just read you the back of it just to give you an idea of what it's about. The king of Anthropus has a baffling illness and is threatened by the Dark Lord who has troubled that mysterious land so many years before. Once again, Wesley, Kurt, and Lisa are drawn to this strange country by the wondrous Gaul. Unexpectedly, an irritating neighbor, Betty, comes with them and causes unexpected problems. Despite this, being thrown into prison, attacked by a 7-headed ogre, and lost in unnatural darkness, they seek to follow where Gaul leads. Together they battle Lord Lunacy in a final confrontation that holds the future of Anthropus in the balance. Here is the stirring conclusion to a series that has been beloved by tens of thousands. So it's kind of funny because the title gives away a major spoiler because it's called The Dark Lord's Demise, so you know the Dark Lord's going to die. Which is fine, this is good versus evil fantasy. The Dark Lord has to die. But it's interesting because Lord Lunacy has been built up as the enemy since the Swordbearer. The first one with John. And honestly, this was a great conclusion. I mean, it's just the big last battle. And the illustrations are again from, I believe, Jack Stockman, who did the illustrations for the first couple of books. And his illustrations, I would say, have improved in this book. I don't know if I can show you any on camera. I don't know if my camera could pick it up. But they're great illustrations, and I think he's really nailed the expressions on the characters' faces in these illustrations. I do like reading fantasy books or any books that has nice illustrations throughout. I'm fine reading a book that has none of them, but this series has been nice for having good illustrations throughout. So I will say, despite the cheesy cover, The Dark Lord's Demise does have nice illustrations. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's just a quest to save Anthropus in the final battle against Lord Lunacy. And it's interesting because yes, you have Wesley, you have Kurt, you have Lisa, but now you have Betty, who in the beginning, Betty is with them. She shows up, she's their neighbor, and they kind of start to think, okay, she is really annoying. She's like, you know, they don't like her. They don't like her right from the get-go. And essentially, of course, the first time they went into Anthropus was through these TVs in their Uncle John's attic. And what happens is they find a way into Anthropus through the TVs again, but Betty ends up getting pulled in with them. And Betty is almost kind of like Mary in that she doesn't believe in Gaul. She's kind of wanting to follow her own power. She believes she has power, not quite witchcraft, but kind of her own power. And she ends up falling for Gaul, who's just this savior figure who draws people to him. And of course, because Lord Lunacy shouldn't be defeated by humans, it's got to be Gaul that fights him. And I just want to say, the final battle that happened in The Dark Lord's Demise, it was a really good concluding battle, really epic. I mean, this is definitely high fantasy, a lot different than Narnia. Narnia is more whimsical and just about the kind of fairy tale elements. This is high fantasy with epic battles. And this is the most epic of the series, I would say. And it's not that big of a book. It didn't take me long to read, but it had basically the concluding scene, the epic battle scene at the end was really good. And it just kind of goes full circle. You get back to John and Eleanor, who he had married in the last book. And it was just a really great concluding book. And again, you get more of Gaul, who's always just a great savior figure. Altogether, this is just a fantastic book, and I recommend it. If you've read the first 5, definitely finish off the series and read this one. I'm just trying to think what else I could say, keeping it spoiler-free. Just It feels good. I will say it feels good for me to have finally finished this series that I started when I was a kid. Back in the 90s, I couldn't get through book 5, and now I've not only read book 5, but I've read the whole series. And it just feels really good to get that done and to finish it. And I guess I'll just conclude by saying I have now read Narnia and I've read The Archives of Anthropus, which are very similar. And I would still state that Narnia is a better story than Anthropus, even though Narnia is not high fantasy, which I prefer. There's something about Narnia that's just that much better than Anthropus, although Anthropus was great. So I will say my thoughts overall on the whole series is it is very worth your read, a very good series. If you're interested in something, you don't mind it being a little more what you would call religious or Christian, the themes are very strong. There's definitely strong Christian themes throughout, but I highly recommend it if you just want to read a really good fantasy story. I highly recommend the entire series, and my thoughts on the series as a whole is that it was very good. I highly enjoyed it, and at some point, a couple years down the line, I'll probably do a reread. So yeah, that's about all I can say. For my next couple of videos, I don't know what I'll be doing. I don't know if there'll be reviews. So I'll just throw this out there. I'm thinking my next video might just be a video on anticipated releases that I'm looking forward to. So I might actually just do a video where I talk about the books that are coming out that I want, and they're all in series. So I can kind of talk about what the series are about and go into detail about that and the ones I'm looking forward to. So that'll be kind of fun. So yeah, so like and subscribe, and I'm just going to say be sure to leave a comment if you want to talk about anything I've mentioned. And remember, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.